King Jr., and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, both branded Reagan as a racist for his support of the white supremacist South in the 1960s and the white supremacist South African regime. Days after Reagan's 1966 landslide victory in the gubernatorial election in California, a distraught King decried Reagan's scarcely disguised appeals to bigotry. Nearly 2 decades later, Tutu called Reagan a racist, pure and simple. When forced to choose sides, Reagan always sided with the white supremacists, striving to uphold the racial caste system, while indicting King and other combatants for racial justice as communist pawns. Reagan's tarring of the civil rights movement with a red brush had been a staple of Southern racists' long campaign to discredit the civil rights movement as a communist plot. By any conceivable standard, close political alliances with white supremacists exceeded King's remote links with communists, a claim that Reagan repeated in October 1983 after reluctantly signing the bill making King's birthday a national holiday. Given Reagan's stature as a transformative political figure, books on virtually all aspects of Reagan's life and presidency abound. While there have been a spate of articles, book chapters, and references to Reagan's civil rights record, particularly his racist war on drugs, surprisingly none of the previous biographies of Reagan have focused exclusively on Reagan and race. Accordingly, Reconsidering Reagan is the first full-length book study of Reagan's life and presidency devoted to the topic of Reagan and race. It also demonstrates the extent to which Reagan was on the wrong side of history in a civil rights movement that forced the nation to reckon with its original sin of slavery, and explains why African Americans overwhelmingly viewed him with contempt. Indeed, blacks' distrust of Reagan began from the moment he entered the political arena as a Barry Goldwater states' rights conservative, opposing the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964. This coincided with Goldwater's conservative movement's success in making inroads with the Democratic South by opposing federal intervention to topple Jim Crow, the racial caste system that operated primarily in the South. In his 1966 campaign for governor, which occurred not long after the August 1965 Watts riots, Reagan made the explosive issue of race a centerpiece of his campaign, while distancing himself from segregationists. Against the backdrop of the carnage of the Watts riots, he deployed the racially freighted term law and order, blamed the riots on liberal politicians coddling lawless criminals, and the liberal notion that government policies are the answer to poverty. At virtually every campaign stop, he stoked white middle-class fears of residential integration by excoriating California's controversial and far-reaching Fair Housing Act. His reluctance to repudiate the conspiracist John Birch Society confirmed the view that he sympathized with right-wing extremists. From the outset, blacks perceived Reagan as an existential threat. Baseball legend Jackie Robinson, a moderate Republican who often criticized the tactics of more militant blacks, castigated Reagan as a Hollywood-style Goldwater and called Reagan's victory in the California gubernatorial primary a tragedy. Likewise, on the eve of Reagan's 1966 gubernatorial election against his racially liberal foe, incumbent Democratic Governor Edmund G. Pat Brown, the black-owned Los Angeles Sentinel warned that no greater catastrophe could overcome the Negroes of this state than the election of Ronald Reagan. Reagan's victory over Brown was the first major triumph of the white backlash against the civil rights movement, as millions of middle-class white Democrats voted Republican for the first time.